Frozen whispers. The icy wind howled through the abandoned village, rattling the broken shutters of long-forgotten homes. Jack, a young researcher, carefully stepped through the knee-deep snow, his breath forming ghostly clouds in the frigid air. He had come to this remote Alaskan settlement to investigate its mysterious disappearance nearly a century ago. The villagers had seemingly vanished overnight, leaving their homes intact but eerily lifeless. Inside one of the cabins, Jack found an old leather-bound journal covered in frost. He brushed off the ice and flipped through its brittle pages, his pulse quickening as he read the final entries. The whispers grow louder each night. They call us by name. Sarah went to find the source. She did not return. As Jack read on, he realized that more names had been added after the final recorded date. Names of those who had tried to uncover the truth. His own name was the last entry. A chilling whisper curled around his ear. "You have come at last." Jack stumbled back, nearly dropping the journal. His breath hitched as he scanned the room. The wooden walls seemed to be closing in, and the temperature plummeted even further. Shadows flickered unnaturally in the dim candlelight, stretching toward him like grasping fingers. Determined to make sense of it all, he grabbed his camera and ventured outside. The storm had intensified, swirling snowflakes blinding him as he trudged toward the village's center. That was when he saw it, a jagged chasm in the ice that hadn't been there before. It pulsed with an eerie blue glow, and the whispers emanated from within. "Come closer," the voices beckoned. "Join us." Jack felt a powerful force pulling at him. He tried to step back, but his feet wouldn't obey. The ground beneath him cracked, and before he could scream, he was swallowed by the abyss. Darkness enveloped him. When he opened his eyes, he was standing in a mirror image of the village. Only everything was twisted and wrong. The homes were intact, but the people were shadows, figures frozen in time, staring at him with hollow eyes. They whispered in unison, calling his name, beckoning him forward. Jack ran, but the more he moved, the deeper he was drawn into their frozen nightmare. The village was alive in a terrible way. The buildings groaned as if they were breathing, and from within the icy walls, eyes watched him. He tried to wake himself, convinced this was a hallucination brought on by the cold. But the pain of frostbite creeping into his limbs proved this was real. Then he heard his own voice whisper back at him from the shadows. The whispers turned to screams. Figures clawed their way out of the ice, their faces distorted in agony. Jack tried to flee, but his feet sank into the snow like quicksand. The shadows dragged him down, pulling him deeper into their frozen hell. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the storm. The village remains, waiting for the next traveler to answer the call. The Snowbound. A group of 5 friends had set out for a winter retreat, seeking adventure in the isolated mountains. Their cozy wooden cabin stood stark against the backdrop of the blizzard that had descended upon them. At first, they welcomed the storm, relishing the warmth of the fireplace and the endless games of cards. But as the snow piled higher, their radio lost signal and their phones stopped working. Strange things began happening. Footsteps echoed in the attic, though no one had gone up there. The clocks reversed their ticking, running backward as if time itself was unraveling. And one by one, the friends started to vanish. Sarah was the first. She had gone outside to check on the generator. They found only her footprints leading away, then suddenly stopping, as if she had been plucked from existence. With growing terror, the remaining friends realized they were not alone. Something ancient lurked beneath the snow, waiting for them to be completely trapped before it made its final move. A deafening crack echoed through the cabin, and the walls trembled. Outside, the storm had taken on a sinister form, swirling specters moving within the wind. James, the group's skeptic, dismissed it as an illusion. But when he reached out to touch the wall, his hand sank into it like quicksand, and he was pulled into the wood itself. Panic set in. The survivors tried to flee, but the door wouldn't budge. The windows showed nothing but an endless void of white. Then they heard the voices, soft, mournful, and filled with hunger. "Stay with us." One by one, they were claimed. And when the blizzard cleared, the cabin stood empty, waiting for its next visitors. The storm never left. It hovered, patient and eternal, drawing in new souls every winter, feeding the entity that lurked beneath the frost. No one who entered the storm ever truly escaped. When rescuers arrived in spring, they found the cabin untouched, the snow around it undisturbed. No tracks, no signs of a struggle, just the eerie feeling that the cabin was watching, waiting. And then that night, the blizzard returned. Blizzard, the ice hotel. The luxurious ice hotel stood in the heart of a frozen landscape, its crystalline walls gleaming under the pale moonlight. Every winter, travelers from around the world came to stay within its frozen corridors, marveling at its beauty, but few ever returned. Emily and her fiancé, David, arrived at the hotel, enchanted by its surreal elegance. However, on their first night, a guest disappeared without a trace. The staff dismissed it as an accident, but when another guest vanished the following night, the whispers began. "The ice remembers," the old caretaker muttered. "It needs new souls to stay alive." Emily awoke to the sound of cracking ice. David was gone. She rushed through the halls, but the hotel had changed. The corridors twisted, leading her deeper into the icy labyrinth. She could hear the voices of the lost travelers, their souls trapped within the frozen walls. The ice hotel did not merely house guests, it consumed them. Desperate, Emily tried to find an exit. The hallways curved impossibly, leading her back to the same spot. Her breath turned to frost in the air, her fingers numb as the cold leached into her bones. A distant laughter echoed through the halls, growing closer. Then she saw them, figures encased in the ice, their faces frozen in silent screams. David was among them, his eyes still flickering with terror. She pounded against the ice, but it was too late. The walls began to close in, and her reflection in the mirror showed a figure that was no longer her own. A new guest had arrived. The hotel had claimed her. Years passed. The ice hotel remained standing, a masterpiece of frozen beauty. New visitors arrived, awed by its majesty. None noticed the figures frozen beneath their feet, their eyes still moving, pleading for escape. And at the reception desk, a new hostess greeted them with an icy smile. Her name was Emily, though she no longer remembered who she had once been. Deep within the ice, she screamed, but the walls only whispered back. The ice hotel would always need new guests.